Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Checking In with Brando. And today, I have a track star. I have a UIU legend on the show, Erica. Thank you for coming on. How you doing?
Of course, thanks for having me, Brandon. I am doing really good. I'm glad that tomorrow's Labor Day for us, and so I don't have to work, so I get another day off.
Okay. That's smooth. That's smooth. Man, what have you been up to like since college, since graduating?
So I moved back to Colorado from Iowa because I'm originally from here, and I just kind of wanted to get a job. So I got my feet wet in software. So right now I'm working
Ooh,
for a SaaS company, which is software as a service. And so I've just been working there. I've only been with this company for about 4 or 5 months, but I've been with SaaS in a SaaS company since July of 2019. So that's kind of
facts, that's facts, man. But how have you been like enjoying working for SaaS, like working with software in general? Like that's like so different.
it is. So it's very interesting because we're coding in
Hmm.
any way. So I work mainly with the clients of our
Mm.
software. So they're the people who essentially pay my bills and everything. But I work on the support side. And so when they're just like, hey, this one thing isn't working or this person's having an issue, I go and I investigate it. It's a little bit more technical than like password resets,
Okay.
essentially. We have a lot of things that are specific to certain clients.
Mhm.
And so you have to get into the nuances of everything. And I've met some really, really cool people in software. I guess you forget how much software we utilize every day.
Yeah.
And so, it's working out really well for me. I enjoy it. And, I know I'll eventually get to my planned profession. We're still
Okay.
young. We're still just out of college. I would love to be there now, but
Hmm.
that's not really what's in the cards for me.
Gotcha. So like, what's like your ultimate dream field to work in? Then?
So at UIU, I was an exercise science and environmental science double major with a sustainability certificate.
Oh.
And yeah, it was a lot. It was definitely a lot, but eventually I learned that I want to go into corporate sustainability. So mainly
Mm.
consulting. Basically, I'm on the person that, a company hires and there's like, we want to become more sustainable. We want to become greener. We want to get these tax deductions. They would hire somebody like me or a company that I would work for. I would do all of the grunt work, the research, the plans, the proposals, and then just say, here's everything that you could do. Choose all, choose none, choose some, and then just kind of help them put that into fruition to just make them a better company. They can get tax deductions, they can get, all these other things that nobody really knows about, nor do
Okay.
I, but I just know they're possible. So that's kind of where I want to go is corporate sustainability.
Man, that's so dope. It sounds like you would be like the one that's like you'll be the one that's helped these companies like achieve their goals in a way. You know, like you'll be like the one like, all right, you put them on track, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I just kind of want to make the world a better place in the cheesiest way that I can say it, but that's
Okay.
how I can do it just because, so much of America works in corporate America, essentially.
Hmm.
And so having that ability to make those simple changes are, just something that I want to do because we can't make big strides unless we make little ones initially.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, and it's like it's dope. Like it's like, oh my gosh, like you kind of like blowing my mind right now because people often overlook like doing the little things, you know, and like the little things is what's gonna make the most difference, you know. But people sometimes fail to realize that. Oh my gosh. Now let's take it back a little bit. Like man, like how did you end up at Upper Iowa?
So, yeah, again, I'm a Colorado native. And so essentially, just kind of junior year, I just decided, I was like, if possible, I want to run college track. And so my parents just, ended up getting us on a website. We put up our info and our stats, and that was just to make sure we could actually hit the whole US instead of just, Colorado and the other Western states, especially because just with the times that I was running, I wasn't really Division I times, and there's really not many Division II schools out where I am right now. So it was just a little bit harder. And so then essentially Coach Rucker reached out to me, and, I was doing a little bit of research on the school and everything. And I was like, hey, there's no track and field page on the website. And he goes, yeah, let's talk about this. He goes, this is a little bit of a different story. And I was like, a little taken aback, but I was like, he's taken time out of his day to speak with me. Obviously there's interest, and, I think it just sounds like a really cool thing, because I grew up in a suburb of Denver, so just south of Denver, Colorado. We don't really have a town size. So for all the Midwest people, we just didn't have this, if you wanted to send a letter to my house, you could put 3 separate city names and it would still get there.
Wow.
So it's all kind of mushed together. And again, very suburbia is what I grew up in. And so I was like, let's just look it up. Fayette looks like a cool place. My grandpa was born and raised in Iowa, so let's just do that. So then Coach Rucker and I were talking, and he was like, okay, so the track program was initially just kind of stopped due to funding, because the school went from D3 to D2. And now we finally have funding for a women's track program. He goes, the fall after you graduate. So that was fall of 2015. And so, I was like, okay, well, do you have any facilities? Like, what am I kind of walking into right now? And essentially he was saying, we just need some girls who are willing to just kind of go with the flow and just do it. And, I've never really had the opportunity to kind of start something, and I found it really intriguing. So then I visited Fayette in February of my senior year, and it was freezing. It was President's Day weekend, just absolutely just frigid. And I was like, okay, this is probably the coldest it'll get. Crossing fingers. Little did we know about my senior year with the polar vortex. But met Coach Rucker, saw the campus. I was like, I need to get out of Colorado. I need to just figure out what I want to do, and if this Colorado is the place that I want to be. And so that's kind of how I ended up at UIU in a nutshell, but in a long story.
Okay. Smooth. So how was it being a part of a track program, when it was just first coming around?
So it was interesting for sure. Nobody really knew who we were. Nobody knew how, we were gonna fare against all of our other conference teams. And especially because track is different, where all the meets that you go to throughout the season are just determined by the coach. You don't have to compete against against every other team like volleyball does or soccer does. Track is very black and white. What you run, what you jump, what you throw, that is how you get into conference. So it doesn't really matter who you play against, it's how you do yourself. So we definitely tried to stay close by for that first season. The first collegiate track meet I ran at was at the University of Northern Iowa. So that was really cool.
Okay.
I got absolutely smoked on my first meet because I had never ran on an indoor track before. I had only done outdoor high school. They do have indoor track in Colorado, but it's all club based.
Okay.
So I had only ran outdoor track at all. And so it was very interesting to try, to run a whole lap and know that that was 200 meters. So No, it was very interesting. We obviously there's definitely a lot, not a lot, but definitely some road bumps.
Okay.
First off was the size. Freshman
Mhm.
year, a lot of us ended up getting hurt, and we truly didn't have enough people to field the team. Whereas for NCAA, you need to compete in X amount of meets with X amount of athletes to be
Mhm.
eligible for any NCAA championships.
Oh,
And yeah, we kind of didn't have a big team. There was about 8 of us, I want to say, that started out my freshman year.
okay.
And then some people just got hurt, and we ended up having to recruit some old track girls from that were actually on the UIU basketball team, and some other kind of girls. Like, we were truly just, I don't want to say we were scraping the bottom of the barrel, but
Mhm.
like we wanted to be eligible just because, we needed to do that. That was something that was kind of very prideful for us because this was our first season. It was our first year. It was very difficult.
Yeah.
And, I'm so glad that we had those girls who helped us out for sure. They didn't really, they threw, so I wasn't part of that aspect, but, it was really, really, thinking back and looking, it was just very nice. And I was so glad that they were able to do that in just, I guess, short notice because they were
Mhm.
practicing basketball and all of a sudden they're going back to throwing shot put. So,
Yeah. Okay. 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 So what events did you do?
at UIU, I ran between indoor and outdoor. I ran between the 60 and the 4x4. So
Mhm.
I did everything in those distances that didn't include hurdles. I'm not a
Okay.
hurdler. Um, I somehow, like freshman year, I ran the 60 and I broke the school record. And I kept that school record until that was broken the year after I graduated. So in 2020. So I kept that record for about 5 years.
Wow.
Um, Obviously, I personally, made that time faster, but
Mhm.
I am not a 60 runner, Brandon. I don't know how I got that record. I think I just, with the training and the coaches and everything, like my
Mhm.
body was just faster. And of course, that's the point.
Yeah.
But, I wasn't expecting, because Coach Rucker would be like, hey, you just broke the record. And I was like,
Mhm.
what record? Like what? I broke a school record.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And then near the end, so like my junior, senior year, I got not looped into running the 4x4, but I was told I would be a much better 4x4 runner than like a 62 runner,
Mhm.
like I was. And yeah, so I ran with that team and we broke the school record pretty consistently. So that was just really cool to just kind of keep doing it. And again, obviously that shows you that the program's getting better,
Mhm.
that the athletes are getting better, that, we're on the up and up in times, but we're going faster.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a contradictory thing, but yeah.
Man, that has to be like an amazing feeling knowing that you've had like collegiate records, you know? Not a lot of people can really speak or say that, you know?
Absolutely. And it was definitely humbling for sure, just because, I personally, like my freshman year was just so crazy and us just trying to figure out what to do as a
Mhm.
program. Like we had to get thrown into the lifting schedules, and then we had to figure out practice, and we couldn't practice in spikes because the rec center didn't have the correct flooring. And
Mhm.
so we were really just unsure of how we were even going to perform because we didn't have the facilities like everybody else we were competing against.
Mhm.
So I definitely would say it was humbling in just the fact that, I knew I was working hard, but, the coaches that I was working with and, somehow what we were doing was the correct way to make us faster. So
Okay, okay. So like how was it like growing up in Denver, Colorado? Like how was that whole experience? Like talk about
it's, I guess it's kind of, mine is definitely different. I love hiking. My family just doesn't really go. Just 'cause it's a lot of planning on our end. But essentially, so born and raised in a suburb of Denver, Colorado, just on the south end. So it takes about 25 minutes from my parents' house to get to my apartment, which is truly downtown. So we're really not too far,
Okay.
about 15, 20 miles. But I guess, just growing up, that is kind of where I got my passion for sustainability and recycling. And so that's how I got into that environmental science because, you're in Colorado. You have everybody who is fairly environmentally conscious. It doesn't mean that they'll actually act on it, but we're just going to be like, hey, this soda can you're holding, just put it in the recycling bin. It's just that those little steps. And so that was kind of throughout my whole life. But I guess growing up, I actually didn't start running track until 7th grade.
Wow.
So I am not a track prodigy per se.
Hmm.
I played soccer like every other 6-year-old in Colorado. That's just like everybody does. And I played that for 10 years. And I actually played it in high school. So
Okay.
women's soccer and track are both in the spring in
Hmm.
Colorado. So my sister and I freshman year were like, if possible, we just want to see if soccer's our way to go or if track is. And so we met with our coaches. We said, all right, here's the day we're going to do a full soccer practice. Here's the day we're doing a half track practice, half soccer practice. And then we would figure out which one we would do first, mainly based on the track workouts.
Hmm.
Because we would go from like soccer practice to track practice. And so we had already been warmed up. So yeah, I played soccer for 10 years. And then for about 10 years, I ran track. And I didn't know I was actually good in whatever aspect that is.
Hmm.
I believe I'm a pretty coachable athlete myself, but athletic wise, I was like, I'm not the fastest person on this team. I'm glad I'm in a couple of relays, but it's because these girls are already in, all these individual events and other relays themselves. But I guess what kind of clicked for my sister and I was that our freshman year, we were bumped up from JV track to varsity track. And
Wow.
that was like halfway through the season. And so, yeah, that, that doesn't normally happen.
It does it. It does it. Oh my God.
So, and my coach, I love Coach Page. He's now the head principal at one of our rival high schools, but
Okay.
he came up to me at practice one day and he goes, you're not doing pre-meet for JV tomorrow, for the JV meet tomorrow. He goes, you're running on Saturday. And I was like, I'm
Wow.
running on Saturday, coach? And he goes, yep. He goes, we're getting you a varsity uniform because you're going to be in a relay. Like he had this whole thing figured out. And I was just sitting here. I was like, am I really that good? Or, or did you just kind of get somebody that just got hurt? But, and of course, running in college, obviously I had the ability and, the coachability as well. So it was just really kind of cool on how that everything just came to fruition. I thought I was going to be a soccer star and I was not, and that's okay.
Okay, okay. It's pretty funny how like you like to hear you mentioning like how you play like soccer because like when I was in high school, some of the best 400 runners and some of the fastest people we had on the track team played soccer.
Mhm.
Man, that's kind of like full circle for me in a way. So it kind of like it makes me laugh inside hearing you say that.
Yeah, it's definitely, being a multi-sport athlete is definitely a very good thing as a high school athlete, just because you get all of these different, all this different knowledge, and then you get to meet all these people. Like you end up just figuring out what you like, and if you're good at it, then I say go for it. But if you still love it and you don't think you're good at it, I say go for it because there's so many opportunities ahead of you that you just don't know are possible.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like outside of just the possibilities, it's like the lessons you learn like along the way, along that journey, you know? And like what like talking about the lessons, so like what was some of the life lessons you've learned from like track?
Oh, geez. I guess the biggest thing is just, yes, you like comparing. Like
Mhm.
we're human. We always want to be better than the next person or better than ourselves. But like track is very like you're beating yourself. And so if this person from this school that you always run against pushes you to be better, then do it, but don't
Mhm.
compare your, I guess, yeah, so don't compare your progress with theirs because them dropping a second on their 100 could be absolutely nothing in comparison to me dropping zero point 0.2 seconds. So, the time difference is different, but maybe her and I worked the same and we both improved on the own way. So, yeah, I guess the biggest thing is continue to compare yourself, but realize and recognize where the other person may be coming from.
Yeah.
I guess if that kind of makes sense. I'm trying not to be like super philosophical,
No,
but
you're
it
all
makes
good. You're
sense
all
to
good.
me.
Yeah.
So I would say that's definitely part of it because, you know, started out freshman year at UIU, I was, everybody was like, oh, this was my time in the 100, this is my time in the 200. And I had very different times. Like they were slower. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, I was like, Coach Rucker obviously sees something in me. He, has given me this opportunity, but like, these girls are going to push me to be better. And so I kind of just kept my times that I ran in high school to myself because I was like, that's not really who I am as a college athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up just kind of using them to push me. And, I used that all the way through senior year when we were doing our 4x4 workouts together. Everybody eventually learns, okay, well, you do this part of this workout really well. So you're going to push me on this part. I'm too, I always went out way too fast on any 400 workout.
Okay.
I just would hit the first 100 about a second or two fast. And it was just never a good thing, but somehow I would always run with Bree Hill.
Okay.
And so I pushed her to learn how to get out faster,
Mm-hmm.
but she pushed me on how to properly pace myself for the rest of the race because
Mm-hmm.
eventually we would just end up side by side by about the 250. So, I guess, yeah, just kind of learn from each other. I mean, track is just like every other sport. Everybody takes away something different from it,
Yeah.
but I guess that's what I took away from it. Um, and, I think it has absolutely helped me become a better, you know, person, student, athlete, all of the above, just
Mm-hmm.
because, we had track meets we needed to leave for, and I did have to make up like labs, and I had to miss class, and I had to juggle all my extracurriculars that I was a part of in college. Like it definitely helped me determine what was important, just even as a student and then a student
Yeah.
athlete.
That's facts. That's facts, man. And it's so great to hear you speak about like not necessarily comparing yourself to others, but comparing yourself to yourself. You know, because
Mhm.
like with social media, like I often see like people like they get in these funks and they have these downs because like they're comparing their life to somebody else's highlights of their life. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's just where we are right now as a society. And the more people realize, everybody puts only the highlights mainly on
Hmm.
social media. So, yeah, that's their highest of high in the month of, August or something,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that they had a few bad days in between or something. And so, you really just got to take everything with a grain of salt on social media. And some people are very open. I kind of just do whatever I feel like. I'm like, hey, I had a good time at this. I went to the state fair this last weekend. Went to a
Okay.
concert. I had a great time. I was like, I want to show people that I went to a concert because,
Okay.
COVID, and I wanted, things are finally becoming what our new normal will be.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like seeing you like travel, like doing like going to the concert and the state fair and stuff. It shows that the world is kind of like bouncing back from COVID, you know,
Mhm.
because like the first like not really just the first, but like 2020 in general, it was just crazy, especially when COVID hit. It was like, oh snap! So like, what's gonna happen next? Like, how are we gonna bounce back from this as a country? But like seeing different people like now, like being able to like to go out to different places, you know, still being able to interact with others. Like, who would have thought like after 2020, like damn, like it might be over for like concerts. We might have to do these virtually and this and that, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see. And then specifically being in downtown Denver, where obviously, there's more people. It's just really nice to see people actually, going out of their way. And if they see someone who is wearing their mask, like they'll make sure to keep that distance or they'll put their mask on themselves. Like, I think it'll take us a few years to obviously bounce back from everything, but I think as a society, we're finally going to not, hopefully, crossing fingers,
Yeah.
but hopefully not be as self-centered
Mm-hmm.
as a me, because have you heard about the shopping cart theory?
Oh no, no, tell me about it. Talk about it. The listeners need
Okay.
to hear about this.
So it's a very simple thing, but it relates into just kind of wearing masks and being like that. But the shopping cart theory is, you go shopping at Walmart or Target or something, you have a grocery cart.
Mhm.
The theory is that the people who do not put their carts away, even in the little designated area, those people are only thinking of themselves. They're just
Mhm.
like, oh, it's an empty parking spot. My cart's just going to sit there because I'm too busy. I don't, it's not going to affect me if I
Yeah.
don't do anything, because I'm leaving. My car is going
Mhm.
to be out of the way.
Mhm.
And, but then you think about the people who did put their carts back in that designated spot. That
Mhm.
is helping the greater good. And so that's a shopping cart theory. So in the fact of when, you wear a mask, you're like, personally, myself, I am personally vaccinated,
Mhm.
but, if I see someone who is, wearing a mask or is taking a few steps away because people aren't wearing their masks, I'll make sure to, I'll cross the street so I don't have, they don't feel as uncomfortable, but I'll put my mask on, and it's not for the benefit of myself. It's
Yeah.
for others' comfort and for others' true their physical safety.
Mhm.
And, so that's how the shopping cart theory relates to COVID and the fact of,
Mhm.
okay, well, the mask doesn't necessarily benefit myself because I am personally vaccinated, but who knows? Maybe there's something I touched or, something on my clothing that could make somebody sick. It doesn't even have to be COVID. It could be anything else. And so it's like, I'm going out of my way to make other people's lives better.
Yeah. Like that shopping cart theory you just shared remind me of some like one of my high school coaches used to always say, he's like, the way you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mhm.
You know? And so it's like you gotta be cautious. Like it's just like, oh my God, like you really just wow, that was something right there. Like you really got me thinking. I'm like, jeez,
Hey, I'm bringing you full circle, Brandon. Everything's connected, especially, yeah,
yeah,
just everything.
that's very true, man. That is so true. So like, how did Denver like change a little bit or had to adjust like with COVID? Like, how was Denver impacted?
So I guess so once we went to the initial lockdown in March, I wasn't living in this apartment. I was living in another apartment down. I wasn't downtown, but I was still in Denver. But I was going into the office, and my office is a couple blocks from the Capitol building. And so, we had all of COVID, and then we had all of the protests and everything. And so my work building actually got partially vandalized
Wow.
during those protests that eventually kind of, I don't want to say they turned into riots, but there was just portions of those where people just started vandalizing things
Mhm.
just because they were frustrated with the world. And I was like, I can understand that you're frustrated with the world, but why are you taking it out on this random building that
Mhm.
has nothing to do with this police officer killing this innocent man type of
Mhm.
thing. So, but essentially that was kind of, in conjunction with the lockdown. Um, with that said, Denver pretty much just like, we didn't go really, really hard on the lockdown, but if you were not an essential worker and you were out past 9 p.m., you had to make sure that you were either at the grocery store or doing something that was mandatory for you. Um,
Mhm.
Obviously, it was more strictly enforced downtown instead of where I was living at the time, but nothing was open. Everything was very, you had to wear your mask. They had people standing outside of Safeway, the grocery store with the True Clicker to make sure that they had only a certain number of people in the store at a time. It was pretty strict, but I believe it was worth it.
Yeah.
And then once the vaccine became available, everybody just kind of started moving towards that. I'm not part of any of those, the first groups that got it. My
Mhm.
mom and my sister and my dad were. So it was really nice for them to do it because then they could go see my grandma who hadn't
Mhm.
seen people for 6 months, and things like that. So Denver was a little strict, but it definitely could have been stricter. But I believe Governor Polis did as well as he could have,
Mhm.
given what the world was with. So I think Governor Polis and Mayor Hancock did a great job. In my personal perspective, I was able to work from home. I had the financial stability to stay at home and to still pay my bills. I'm not saying that it wasn't hard for other people,
Yeah.
but personally, I think it was a beneficial thing for us.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously the numbers show it in who is contracting it and who is actually becoming hospitalized. So I think we're on the right track.
Okay. Okay. And then like another question I have is like from the if you can remember back like from the beginning of 2020 and like to the end of 2020, like how did you change? How did you grow?
I think I definitely realized how much I was relying on others. Um,
Mm.
and it's not that I was relying on them in a negative or any way that was, I guess, bad for them. It was just that I was relying on others for my personal happiness. I
Mm.
am, so basically, I was in the office and we had 90 people in our office. And so you would just go and talk to people and, they would do that. And then when I couldn't talk to somebody in person, like I had to set up a meeting with them and do that. And then that I wasn't deemed as being productive, I kind of was not in a good spot mentally, probably in the middle of 2020,
Mm.
just because I wasn't seeing others. And even it's like, it wasn't like, I just like hearing other people's
Mm.
positive things that are happening in their life.
Mm.
That brings me joy just because, I like the people around me to be happy.
Yeah.
Um, but just kind of once I realized that, I was like, okay, I need to pick up a couple hobbies. I need to not be glued to technology 24/7,
Mm.
like social media, the comparisons, like that was not a good thing for me for a few months. But I finally got back into just reading for fun, and I have started and have yet to finish a t-shirt blanket with all my UAU shirts, but
Okay.
um, I finally am just like, okay, I need to step away and just find something that's going to make me content. And the contentness, especially when nothing was open, was what
Mm.
helped me become happy and realize that I could do it myself and I didn't have to rely on others to be happy.
Ooh, that's touching right there. That's touching. Cause I know like for me, like the person I was beginning of 2020, like towards the end, like I can really say I really like looked at myself and had those honest and hard conversations that was necessary for my growth. You
Mhm.
know, and I can say coming out. of 2020. I guess I can really say I've healed from past traumas, you know,
Mhm.
and it's like like healing is like such a beautiful thing, you know, and it's like just seeing like okay, like now like certain things just don't affect me no more, at
Mhm.
least not like how they used to, you know, like the things that used to like make me sad or this or that, like I can laugh it off in a way and just
Mhm.
keep it moving. And then like I
Yeah.
really learned how to like when I have my these certain thoughts and this and that, not necessarily just hold on to them, but like being able to like let them go, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I'm exactly kind of on the same thing. It was I think a lot of people did a lot of soul searching, not purposeful soul searching. They just ended up doing it. And I think most of us for sure have come out on the positive end of that. So,
Yeah, that's so real. And like with 2021 almost being over, like you got like a few months left. Like, what's some things you were surprised about yourself with? Like, okay, I can do this. Like some new strengths you learned that you had.
mhm. So, actually just about a month ago, so I have two new roommates. And so it's so nice that, my previous roommates, they were great people. They're just not really on the same path as me right now. They're not very professionally minded. And so we butt heads a lot. And I finally kind of got the courage and the strength to like, I don't want to say necessarily tell them off, but I was finally able to be like, yeah, hey, like really, like you were up till 3 in the morning
Mhm.
and like, do you not understand that I have to wake up at 6:30 to go to work? And then I work for 8 hours.
Mhm.
Like you just, so I was finally able to be like, you're not really benefiting me. And that's making my personal life and making me unhappy. So I was
Mhm.
finally able to kind of find my voice in that aspect. I guess I don't even know. Just a few other things. I just kind of have continued to do the hobbies that I picked up on in 2020. The blanket is uh, slowly coming, but it's not coming to fruition because it's a 25 t-shirts or
Oof.
like 25 squares. So it's a 5 by 5 blanket.
Mhm.
So it just takes a lot of time and I get frustrated with all the sewing because I'm hand
Yeah.
sewing it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's been a pain, but it'll get finished eventually, maybe.
Yeah. Man, I
So
look forward to seeing it when you finish it.
I was like, yeah, I just had so many UIU shirts and I was like, I'm not really gonna wear them, but they're also like, I wore them so much in college. They're not ones that I can be okay with donating.
Yeah.
So I ended up cutting them and kind of organizing them a certain way. And so I still need to work on that, but
Okay.
you know, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, man. You got any questions for me?
I guess, what are you up to besides, this whole thing? How are you doing with everything? Because I don't really hear a ton about how things are, I guess, in the suburbs where you are.
Yeah. Man, now I can say that I'm actually like I'm doing okay actually. You know, because at first, like especially at the beginning of the year, like I feel like I was like picking myself up off the ground. You know, like life hit, but then like now like I'm like really getting back up. You
Mhm.
know, and like it's like me taking up the punches that life had to throw. Is like all right, cool. I see what this living thing is now. You know, because at
Yeah.
first like growing up, like before like you're an adult, before you graduate college, this and that, like you think it's all peaches and creams. You know, like you don't expect, you don't see like the hardships that come with just being alive, comes with living. You know,
Mhm.
but being able to come out on the other side has been such a empowering thing for me. And it's like, wow, like I really made it to this point. Oh, snaps. And like now that has me looking forward to even like making it to 30 and being able to say, like, okay, this is what I've learned now, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like I've
Mhm.
really just been exploring myself and like like living outside of my comfort zone, You know,
Mhm.
because for a while I was used to like just staying within a small circle of people, you know, not really trying new foods and trying new experiences like that. If I like pizza, if I like cheese pizza, that's I'm gonna get cheese pizza. I'm not gonna try to get pepperoni. I'm not gonna try to get peppers. None of that. I'll just keep it
Yeah.
cheap. But like I've really just been trying new things, and like I've been learning about myself. I'm just like, oh snap! Like I've just been learning things like I didn't know. Like say like me and my boy Corey, we've been writing this book. Like before like we even came up with this idea and stuff, when you started writing, like this was like something I wouldn't even thought. Like 16-year-old me would be like, you writing? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Like how's that
Are
even
you sure
happening?
you're talking about the right Brandon?
Yeah, like exactly. Cause like, I was like so like football heavy, like I just want to be in the NFL, this and that, woo, woo. But like knowing that I'm like more than just a football player, like I'm a whole person that has very different layers to me,
Mhm.
you know. So like this has been like a great process so far. At first, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't easy getting to this point, but like I can really say I'm happy that I'm here, you know.
Yeah. Hindsight's 2020 for sure. That's
Yeah,
the best thing is, you look back and you're like, okay, yeah, that sucked, but it shaped me to who I am. I now do this, I now do that, I don't do this. It's definitely, yeah, looking back, hindsight's 2020, and
mhm.
not to be, cheesy or anything,
Yeah,
but 2020 sucked. And then you look back and now we're both, oh, we've grown both so much. So,
yeah.
hindsight's 2020. It's always really hard in the meantime, but once it's done, you know that it's the right thing.
That's facts. That got me thinking about these two quotes I've like heard. Well, one of them was not really a quote. It was a question I heard Stephen Colbert ask. He asked, "What punishments of God are not gifts?" You know, and like I thought about it, and I heard him explain it, and I was like, "Oh, steps like all the pain a person may feel, the suffering they may feel, like there's a lesson that you can
Yeah.
learn from it, and like you can really use that to grow." You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's very true. And then another one is like some you do you remember Kevin? You remember
Yes.
it was some uh I saw him say he was like the only way to get through hell is to walk through. And I was like, damn, like that's kind of true. Like sometimes you can't like avoid those hard times or even like the hard conversations like you need to have with certain individuals. But it's like once
Mhm.
you have them like on the other side, you can find like heaven in a way, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, whatever you're looking for. And sometimes you don't even know. Like that's, kind of just like us going through college. And, we both had very different, I guess, plans in our brain of what happened. And now, looking back, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm 2 years out of college and I have nothing to do with sustainability, but working for software and I really enjoy it. And I've met some really great people, and
Yeah,
just opportunities present themselves in the weirdest ways.
yeah.
So
That's true. That's so true, man. If you could give some advice to like the new college graduates, like what would you tell them?
I guess, well, it depends on what but I'll just do professionally just because I say just to find a job when you can. It doesn't have to be in any field that's related to you because you have marketable, um, what is the word I'm thinking of? You're just
Qualities?
marketable.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the word yeah, qualities. Thank you. Marketable qualities. You know, even if yeah, whatever you did in college, you're able to market that yourself. And most of us have had jobs, and, getting your foot in professionally is very, very difficult.
Mhm.
I started out at my first software company as a temp worker. So,
Wow.
I started out as a temp, and then the company kind of went through some changes and they were able to hire all of us temps on permanently. But if it
Mhm.
wasn't for me reaching out and, I didn't have to go, I did go through a recruiter, but, they just know how you benefit in this one job, whether that's if you want to do it or not. But it's, I say just don't be afraid to try a job.
Okay.
You can always say no. You can always leave if you're really that unhappy.
Hmm.
But, I have met some of the best people that I've had, it's working in software, and none of us want to end up in software. We're all
Hmm.
just a couple years out of college and just say, we have the people skills, we're learning the technical knowledge. My sister works in she works in recruiting,
Okay.
and so she originally wanted to do like kind of like HR stuff, but
Okay.
she's really found her niche in recruiting. She really enjoys helping people find the job that they want. So I guess, for the new college people, I say don't be afraid to try a new job. Don't be afraid to just put your name out there. The worst companies can do is say no,
Hmm.
but there's always a reason behind it. I'm a big believer of everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And so, definitely I say just go for it. But post college, do what you want, go to grad school, take a couple years off, volunteer, like do what you want, because you will not have this amount of freedom for the rest of your life. You're
Ooh.
gonna get, just go, and I say go and do it. And the right company will give you that freedom. Where I currently work, my CEO consistently tells everyone, basically he requires you, but we don't have to. He goes,
Mhm.
it is highly, highly encouraged to take at least a full week off twice a week, twice a year.
Mm.
So he's just like, take your time off, take a full break from work, enjoy
Wow.
your life, get stuff done. The right companies know you're human and know you have a
Hmm.
life outside of it. So acknowledge those and find those companies. And if you end up thinking it's the company and it's not, you've gained experience along the way. You don't work well with, micromanagers, or you do work really well with people who give you a true set list of what needs to be done.
Hmm.
You know, the only way to learn those is to jump in head first. So.
Man, that was just powerful. Oh my God. I know the listeners will enjoy it, but I was just really just soaking that in. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's-
absolutely. And some people just, corporate America isn't for them, and that's okay. There's a reason why there's other places. One of my really good friends, my old roommate, works in construction and he loves it.
Okay.
Like, good for you. I have no desire to stand out in the sun for 60 plus hours a week,
Yeah.
but he loves it because he is a total nerd and does water drainage for CDOT, so the Colorado Department of Transportation.
Mhm.
That's what he does. And he's like, I would hate it if I had to sit in an office for 40 hours a week.
Mhm.
Like, just learn, there's the only way what you like and what you don't
Mhm.
is to just try and do it. And like I said, the right people will lead you in the correct direction. The right
Yeah.
companies will say, hey, we hired you on for this position. You know what? This actually doesn't seem like something that you personally are interested in.
Yeah.
We have another position that's opening in the future. We believe you would be beneficial here. If
Okay.
not, that position's at other companies. I will be
Mhm.
your reference. You just have to, yeah, just put yourself out there, and it's super scary, and sending in your resume 10 million times is annoying. I've done it myself.
Mhm.
I know it's hard, but it always works out in the end. I don't know how long your end is,
Yeah.
but it always works out in the end, whether that's your first job that you really love or 5 years from now.
Mhm.
It always works out in the end.
Man, oh my God. So you are so right, because sometimes like I've started saying is you could only learn so much on the sideline. Sometimes
Mhm.
you gotta hop in the field, whatever field you're entering, you gotta hop in and just get active, and you'll learn things from just being active in general.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I can say for me personally, like I've over the last 3 to 4 months or so, I've really just started working on editing, adding effects and this and that. But as of recently, I can oh my God, I can look back and say, oh my God, at first I wasn't even trying this type of stuff, but like now I'm doing it, and now I know how to do it better.
Mhm.
You know, because like at first I wasn't touching like I wasn't trimming videos. I wasn't like cutting up snippets and this and that. But it's like I'm doing it now, and like I'm just learning things on the way. So like I'm looking forward to seeing the things I learned in the next year of doing this. You know.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
and seeing your progress is always the best thing. Everybody notices besides you until you look back. Everybody's just like, you've grown so much, you're so good at this for your job, or you're so good at this. And, you're just like, really? I didn't feel like I've made leaps and bounds. But then again, like you look back on your videos and you're just like, wow, okay, well, yeah, you're like, okay, well, I know I'm not doing that
Mhm.
again,
Yeah.
but I've learned from it and, I'm still moving forward and I'm getting better. And so I have these benchmarks of just kind of where you've progressed.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. Is there anything else you would like to share with the people before we dip off?
I don't, I say just, keep people in your life that you believe are beneficial.
Mhm.
Social media is always great, but you feel connected to people that like there's people that in Iowa that I don't see all the time.
Mhm.
And I see them, post them on social media, you know, just reach out to them. Just be like, hey, I saw this happen. I hope you're doing well. Keep the right people in your life because it's just, you just need more people in your life than you think. And I know we all have very small friend groups. Like I don't have a ton.
Mhm.
I just, just be actively keeping those connections because eventually you'll lose them and you'll just be really sad and just be
Yes.
like, somebody's like, well, we just, we grew apart or we, just kind of faded away. Well,
Mhm.
yes, it's a two-way street. But if you want to keep somebody in your life as a friend or whatever, mentor, any aspect, reach out. We're all human. We all have bad days.
Mhm.
Sometimes people are busy, but just be like, hey, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to check in. We haven't talked in a while.
Yeah.
Let's do a Zoom happy hour or meet up for a happy hour if they're comfortable with it.
Mhm.
Put that effort in. It sucks at the beginning because you feel like you're the only one putting in effort. But
Mhm.
once they realize kind of what you are doing and why you're doing it is that you want them in your life,
Mhm.
it's all worth it. There's people I've reconnected from elementary school just because I reached out to them in social media and I was like,
Yeah.
hey, I saw you're engaged. That's awesome. Let's go meet up for
Mhm.
drinks. And then you end up finding these people that you haven't talked to in years and you have the same, very similar, hobbies and stuff. And then you end up making friends of their friends and, your network becomes bigger. And, I think for myself, like knowing that I am appreciated and that people know that I put in effort, I
Mhm.
think is just fulfilling for me. I know a lot of people feel drained from it,
Mhm.
but like when you reached out, Brandon, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, this is awesome. I was like, Brandon
Yeah.
wants me to talk about stuff, so you doing that was, it was just touching because we don't talk a lot,
Yeah.
but you're just like, hey, we've talked in college, I think you
Mhm.
have great, whatever aspect,
Mhm.
like it made me feel appreciated. And I
Yeah.
hope, so that's kind of where it is. I know I rambled a bit on that, but
No, no, no. Like you're like completely good. I'm not gonna lie. When you said yes, like that, like damn near meant the world to me because like I know like the conversation we've had in the past. I'm like, okay, it's been pretty dope. So like I would like to get other people to hear some of the things we spoke about, and like and hear the bright side of you, like and see you in other ways they haven't seen you before. So
Yep,
it's been dope. We had an amazing conversation, man. Like, I really
absolutely.
enjoyed it.
A little bit of Wi-Fi issues on my end, but hey, we made it through. We made it through.
Yeah, it's all good, man. And let everybody know where they could follow you at.
You got me on Twitter and Instagram, same handle. Erica. Hold on, give me a second. I don't remember if it's an underscore or a dot.
I guess.
So it's Erica_Kelly27 on Instagram and Twitter. So Brandon follows me on both of them. So feel free to just search up Erica if you guys don't want to search it that way, because Erica and Kelly are spelled 10 million different ways anyway. So no worries.
Oh man, that's so true, man. That's it for the latest episode of Checking In with Brando and Erica. I thank you for coming on and sharing your time with me and having this amazing conversation.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. I've had a blast. It's nice to finally talk to you again. It's been too long for sure.
That's facts. That's facts, and that's how we ending it. Yes, sir.